Hello everybody, welcome to I Know You Know, your one-stop knowledge sharing platform for all things careers, life after high school, as well as opportunities that are available to you. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and let's keep spreading the word about I Know You Know. Today's video is a sequel of my previous video. My previous video explored 15 different ways or paths that you can choose after matric. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about 10 things you should be thinking about when deciding on a path. This path can be career or job related, but it's really just what is it that you want to do after your high school. So let's get into it and discuss 10 things you should be considering before choosing a path. Let's get into it. The first thing you should think about are your passions or interest. What is it that you are passionate about? What is it that sets your heart on fire? What is it that you feel like you should be doing on a daily basis? I think this goes a long way, because really how passionate you are about something will also impact how much you're willing to put up with whatever challenge comes in that path, or how much extra work you're willing to put in. WomenEng, an organization geared towards supporting women in engineering, normally explore this particular point by asking the question, what problem are you here to solve? With everything that's going on in the world, where do you think you can bring about a change? I think this really is something that people should consider when choosing what to do, because it really is something that you will be doing for a long time, something that might be challenging at times, and something that really will definitely require some effort from you. So let it at least be something that you are passionate about. One of my mentors also says that where passion meets challenge, that's where the magic happens. And I couldn't agree more with that. Moving on to the second one, your lifestyle desires. First of all, before we even get to lifestyle, it costs money to be alive. You need food, you need clothes, you need shelter, you need a whole lot more things. But you really just need to find something that will help you have that. Unless you have money stashed somewhere, of course, then you wouldn't be considering this. But definitely you need to ensure that your job does cater for your needs, at the very least. Secondly, you need to think about what lifestyle it is that you want. So think about, you want 5 cars, you want a mansion, you want what kind of lifestyle? You want to travel, you want to, try and pick a path that will give you that. And I mean, this is not to say that one specific path must give you that. I mean, we all know a lot of people have multiple streams of income, etc. But even in considering those multiple streams of income, you need to understand what you're trying to make your lifestyle look like, and ensure that when you are deciding on whatever path to take or paths to take, they will cater to that. This will also really impact how happy you are in your job, because you might be absolutely happy in whatever it is that you're doing, but if it's not catering to your needs, that might be an element of unhappiness in whatever job it is that you find yourself in. So definitely do consider the type of lifestyle that you want. And this point is not to make you think about the fact that you should choose a job that is high paying. I mean, it's no secret that some jobs are more high paying than others, but this is more to say, whichever path you choose, how are you going to make sure that you make as much money as you want? Or how are you going to make sure that your needs are catered for financially? So this is more of a challenge, because I think that people can make money in whichever industry they're in. There are always some creative things that you can do that will gain money, even if it's not the traditional way of making money in that industry. You could run classes that teach people the skills you have as a way of making additional money. My point is, just think around how it is you're going to make a living for yourself in your favored career path. The third point is the market or the industry. What is happening in the industry that you want to go in? Are there any changes? What do the changes look like? Where does that place you in this market? We need to understand that yes, you could go and learn some skills to get into a certain job, but the industry and the marketability of the skills that you've learned really play a role in whether or not you will get a job. You need to think about, are there like 1,000 people who've learned the same skill as you? waiting for jobs. If that's the case, how are you going to set yourself apart to make sure that you're a suitable candidate and you're the most attractive candidate in whatever job it is that you're applying for? You need to think about these things, because it's no use you go into a saturated market and you don't even have something that differentiates you from the other candidates. This is definitely something to consider. And another way to think about this is that you have jobs that exist today but probably won't exist in 10 years. You need to think about that. You need to think, I mean, not to say you shouldn't go for it, but if that's the type of industry you're in, what is your plan then for the 10 years? And you don't have to have a detailed plan, but you kind of need to have an idea of what it is that you want, because it may inform your choice of path going forward. The fourth thing you should think about are the requirements. If you're planning on studying further or working or whatever path you're going about, you need to think about what subjects do you need to have studied, what skills do you need to have, what talents do you need to have. If you don't have those, how are you going to compensate for them? Because it's not always the case that you really do need these requirements prior to starting in whichever journey it is that you're going in. However, you could have and find ways that you can compensate for some of these things. So you need to think about that. What are your strengths? What are the strengths that are required for what it is that you want? And do you have these strengths? If not, how will you get them, for example? So yeah, just think about the requirements for your chosen path or the path you're thinking of choosing. The fifth thing you should think about is your work style. What kind of work style suits you best? Do you want a job that's got deadlines or one that doesn't have deadlines? Do you want something that is flexible or something that's very structured? I mean, we are different as people, and I think it's important to understand what it is that feels natural to you or what it is that appeals to you. And this is something that you should think about when trying to choose a job. The sixth thing is your social needs or your social environment. You need to think about whether or not you want to be in a job where you work with people, or you want to be in a job where you sit at your own desk and you don't interact much with people. Even within the team, do you want a job that's group work or more individually assessed? Do you want a job whereby you'll be sitting at a desk, whereby you'll be at a factory, on a plant? Do you want a job where you'll be working remotely? These are some of the things you should consider, because honestly, different jobs require different things. You can't not want to work with people but go into a job that works with people. I mean, you can't be, for example, scared of blood and then want to become a medic. I mean, maybe there are some, but I'm sure it's incredibly difficult to do their job, because I mean, that's what they see all the time, etc. I mean, this might be a very uninformed opinion, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. You need to think about the social environment it is that you want to be in when you are in your job or whatever career path that you do choose. You need to think about what work looks like for you. What's the ideal workspace, and let that inform your decision. And it might not necessarily happen that you do get exactly what you want, but don't go into something that you're going to feel a week into it is exactly not what you want. You know, you need to kind of protect yourself from that kind of a situation by doing your homework, finding out what it is that work looks like and deciding if that's for you. The seventh thing you should think about are your priorities and values. Now, this speaks to if you're a person who prioritizes family life, wants to have a family one day, or has a family already, you probably don't want a job that's going to take 90% of your time. You probably want to spend a little bit more time with your family. So you need to think about these things. You need to think about what job is it that I can do that will align with some of my values. This also goes to even thinking about in the actual job itself. I mean, there are some people whose values won't allow them to join the military, for example, simply from a values perspective. I mean, that's what their values are. Some people their values won't allow them to be in a job where they feel like they're disadvantaging other people. You need to think about this, because you don't want to walk into a job and feel like you really can't do this because it's not you. So this is a consideration that you should make when deciding what path to take. The 8th thing you should consider are your experiences. This speaks to if you've done vacation work, if you've shadowed somebody in a certain workspace that you're interested in, or if you've spoken to somebody. You need to kind of think how you've experienced that workspace and whether or not it aligns with you. And this also goes to speak to the fact that nobody should be choosing your career path or your job for you. And I know that some people come from families that really thrive on that principle of choosing your next step for your children, etc. And I personally don't think that's a good thing to do, because the child is the one that's going to be sitting in that job 9 to 5, day in and day out. And so I think as a person who's trying to choose your next path, make sure that your experience of that path, either from experiencing it in vacation work or from speaking to people, is exactly what you want. And I think I'd also advise parents to, yes, advise, but try not to make the decision for your child, because you are not the one that has to sit in that job every day and put up with all the challenges that come with it. The 9th thing you should consider is education or training. Some paths will require you to get some level of education, which could cost money and could take some time. You need to think about what time it is you're willing to be in school. I know there are people that are not willing to be in school for like 10 years to study for something. So someone like that would rather study a 4-year program and go work. And even if they want to study at a later stage, they want it to be a choice as opposed to a 10-year-long program before you actually start working. So you need to think about those things. Secondly, you need to think about the fact that some education and training will need to be paid for. Do you have the money to pay for that? And this is not just a consideration from a perspective of having it personally. I mean, a lot of us have gone through school and have gotten opportunities and different platforms, organizations that have paid for our studies. So this is a consideration to say, if you are looking into going into something that will require you to pay, either assess whether you have the money or look for opportunities that will help with that, whether it's NSFAS or different companies, different private companies, or a family member, etc. Just make sure that you consider that as well as part of your plan, because it is a real thing, guys. It is expensive to get especially higher education, and so really make sure that you do consider this in your plan. The last and final thing, the 10th thing, is understanding the difference between a job and a career. Prof. Mamokgethi Phakeng on her socials last week Sunday actually spoke about this, so please go check that conversation out, because I think she'll elaborate much better than I can on this point. But what this speaks to is the fact that there's a difference between a job that you do every single day and your career. Your career is normally built over a long period of time. And what Prof. Phakeng also says is that it's normally for you. Your career is for you, whereas your job is something you do for someone else or for a company. It's something you wake up to go do every single day. Definitely your job can contribute to your career and probably should, but they are two different things. And the reason I mention this is that you need to think about the fact that whatever path you choose, you need to differentiate between the job and the career. Firstly, think about the fact that if you choose a certain path, like a certain job, you might not be in that job forever. So you need to think about what skills is that job giving you, or that path giving you, and how will it aid towards your building of your desired career. Are the skills transferable? Can you do another job using those skills at a later stage? You need to consider something like that. Secondly, you also need to think about the fact that whatever you choose isn't forever. I mean, a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves trying to think about what it is that they'll feel like doing when they're 50. And I don't think anybody really knows that. So when making a decision, don't feel like whatever you decide when you're 18 is what will be happening or what will still be in place in your life when you're 30. I mean, people change jobs all the time, and some from necessity, but others out of new interests that they develop along the way. So don't feel the pressure to feel like you need to really pick a path that caters for whatever interests you have now and interests you might have in the future. You could explore different paths as you go along in your career, and you could really get into whatever other things that really spark your interests in future. So definitely consider the difference between a job and a career when making your decision. Decide if I'm choosing a job or I'm choosing a career. You might find that the problem you want to solve will happen over a career, over the length of your career. And now you need to think about what jobs you need to do to end up in a place where you are solving this problem, you know. So those are two different things, and this is something that I really think people should consider when choosing their next path. All right, there you have it, 10 things you should consider when choosing your next path. I hope this video is helpful to you and will help you in your particular journey. Comment down below what considerations you had when choosing your path. And if you're someone who hasn't chosen a path yet, comment down below what are the considerations that you are making currently. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. As you know, share this with 2 people that you think will gain value from this information. See you in the next video. Goodbye.